Welcome to Lash Science. Woo-woo.
Ooh, we were at the same time.
Oh,
Okay, soundboard who? We are
yeah,
our
we don't
own
need a
soundboard.
soundboard. Shit.
Yeah. Um, so excited today. We have another special guest for you guys. We have Michael Becker, the cosmetic chemist, coming to talk about oils and lash adhesives and myth busting some of that, what kind of oils we should be looking out for. Maybe do oils affect traditional adhesive more than they affect light curing adhesive? We're going to
Or
get
do
all
they affect it at
into,
all? Is that
yeah, we're
outdated
going to get in,
information or not?
yeah. We're going to get into that cup of tea today, but before we go grab him from the waiting room, we wanted to do announcements super quick and our drink tour. So, announcements would be if you're not BioComfort certified by now, girl, what are you
I
doing?
know. Come on. Come on.
I promise you,
Do
your
what all the
clients will be
cool kids are
obsessed with
doing.
it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
don't you want to be a cool kid who cares about your clients' ocular health
Yeah.
and makes your services feel luxury and just
Dude,
yeah,
clients eat
definitely.
it up. They love it.
Yeah,
And
I
it's only
promise.
$40. It's
So cheap.
$40.
So cheap for a course. And we go over
Yeah.
allergies, reactions, all the things. I feel like we mention it every episode, so I'm not going to explain it again. But if you're not BioComfort certified girly pop, what are you doing?
Yeah. Get with it. Get with the
Order a
program.
business. Order a business number 2 is going to be LashCon in October. 11th, 12th, 13th. Be there or be square. This is going to be a huge year for Lash Apothecary. We're working on our jammies right now so we can all have matching jammies. Um, it's crunch time for us here at the apothecary,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
gonna be so much fun. Come see us, come
I
hang.
know. Well, and we've got we're teaching a class in our sponsor suite. My mom's going to be mainly teaching it, but we'll all be there. About UV curing, and as far as I know, that's the only UV curing class at LashCon.
Only light curing class at LashCon.
Yeah.
So
So, I don't know.
excited to
Hopefully
be
that
representing.
changes. Yeah, but if not, definitely you don't want to miss it. If you have not bought your LashCon ticket yet, do that now. And if you want $100 off your ticket, you can use code ANNE, ANNE 100. Anne is my mom's name. And that will give you $100 off your ticket. Yeah,
Whoop
that's
whoop.
all that I have to say about LashCon. Oh,
You're
and
you're gonna want
Disneyland.
to be
You can
there.
go to Disneyland.
Oh yeah.
So,
Duh, Disney. Halloween Disneyland at that, because it's October
oh,
Disneyland.
they have all their yummy pumpkin snacks and treats and all the sweet treats, all the salty snacks. Like, come on.
I'm so excited to go to Disneyland
Me
and
too.
eat, to be
Me
honest.
too.
Um, last announcement and order of business is going to be the educator course. If you have been lashing with Opal for over 6 months and you really want to offer Opal trainings in your area, the educator course is where you need to be to make that happen. And it will be in Dallas, December 6th, 7th, and 8th. And this is the last chance to grab it this year at the price that it's currently at, because next year the educator course is going to go up. And it's right now we're recording this on July 14th. So
And
you
we only
probably
have
won't hear
like
this
four
episode for a
spots
while.
left.
Yes, and there's only 4
Yeah.
spots left. So by the time you're hearing this, I don't know how many spots there are left. You can do a payment plan, do what you got to do so we can see you. We will get you all trained up with all the materials that you need to take students and help share light curing education, Opal education specifically. Um yeah, it's a career changer for sure. If that's you want to be an educator, this definitely is giving you all the steps and materials to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. You can
Be
use code
there or be
Lash Science
square.
Pod, POD, all one word, for 15% off of the master. I
That
mean
gives
the
you a pretty
yeah,
big
the
chunk
educator course.
off.
I'm,
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to saying master class, so.
I
And
know.
if you're listening to this, we've probably already had the August master class, but our 2026 master class dates will be coming out very, very soon because we need to figure
And
that out. But
locations. Mhm.
Yes, if you want us to come to your city, let us know because whoever tells us where to go the most, and we're here like New York, New York, New York. Guess what? We going to New York. Or we hear
Mhm.
Florida, Florida, Florida. We're going to Florida. So cast your vote. Let us know. I need to post something on Instagram to get votes, but that's
Yeah.
another problem. Okay, just let us know where you
Yeah,
want us to go.
that's
Leave a comment. I don't care where you comment it. You can comment it on Apple. You can comment it on Spotify. You can comment it on YouTube. I will find it. I promise.
yep.
Okay, drink
That's that.
tour. What you got today?
Drink tour. I have a little Mountain Dew.
Oh, a can.
It's a
Okay,
little baby
can.
can. Yeah. I haven't opened it yet. Ready?
Okay, wait. I don't want to take up a lot of time, but I saw this video yesterday that was talking about like Mountain Dew conspiracy theories, and like
I saw that.
every time Mountain Dew
They
drops a
come
new
out with a
flavor,
new
like
flavor, something happens.
something bad happens.
I
Like they had
know.
a Code Red flavor in 2001, and then 3 months later, you know what happened in November?
Yep. Yep.
And then I saw one that was like, oh, they had like a Maui flavor, and then 3 months later, like Maui completely flooded. And
Okay, well,
like
they
it
have
just
a
kept going on
honeydew
and on and on
flavor
and
out
on.
right now. So, what does that mean?
I
Anyway,
don't know.
and then I also have my colostrum.
Yet again, she's slacking on the
I
colostrum in the
know.
morning.
I know. There's like barely any left in it. But
So you almost sick. You almost have a happy cup.
yeah.
I have my crack juice from Starbucks, a venti iced green tea, mango dragon fruit base, no water. To riches. And my Opal Educator cup with water.
Water. Gotta be
Yeah.
hydrated. Yeah.
Um, I'm ready to yap with Michael Becker, so maybe we should go grab
Yeah.
him.
Yes.
BRB. Welcome, Michael. I'm so excited.
Yeah, this is gonna
Yeah,
be
thanks for having me.
a good one.
It's so funny because we literally had people asking, "Can Michael Becker come on the podcast?" We were like, "Oh."
Amazing.
Yeah.
But
Amazing.
why don't for those who aren't aware of who you are, why don't you explain a little bit about your credentials and how you got involved in the lash industry for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for those of you who don't know me, Michael Becker, better known by my IG handle on Instagram as Michael B. Chemist. I've worked in the lash space about 5 years now. I think this is my fifth year, actually. So,
Woo!
pretty cool, fun. I started off in the lash space, as I said, about 5 years ago, kind of helping some brands just with formulation questions, compliance questions, claims, labeling, all that stuff. And for those of you who are unsure, I went to school for chemistry, so I do have a bachelor's of science in chemistry. My mother was also an esthetician growing up, so I'd always kind of had an interest in cosmetics, especially when she'd, be doing her testing or trying out like new waxing methods or something.
You were
I'm
like
reading the
born for
labels.
this.
What is this?
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of a little bit about my start into it. And, I haven't looked back since. It's been fantastic. I've spoken at LashCon a few times and got to have some amazing opportunities and connect with some fantastic people.
I
Yeah.
love that. We're so blessed to have someone who like knows chemistry that we can talk with because a lot of times there's not really people like you that are available to provide education to lash artists because a lot of the manufacturers there's a language barrier and I just everything's advertised in a marketing way but it's almost like okay but where's like the chemistry
The
education?
science behind it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where's the science?
Yeah.
So, you know us, we're all about science. I'm really excited. We have people like you that we can connect with and get down to bust some lash myths, which is what we're going to do today.
Yes.
Love it. Looking forward to it. And thank you guys for having me too.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, today we want to talk about like oils and lash adhesives because I feel like since the beginning of time and even still now, this is one of like the most believed bel myths and like it's to the point that like all the clients believe it, so many lash artists believe it. So in your opinion, what are some of the biggest myths you hear about oils and lash retention so we can like set the stage?
Yeah, I'd say I'll point out two and keep it to that. But the two that I hear the most, right, is oils dissolve your adhesive, which putting it out there,
I remember
scientifically
hearing that as
inaccurate.
I remember hearing that as a
Yeah.
beginner, and I was always telling my clients, like, "Don't
Well,
use any oils."
I remember there was a time where we were told in a training, this was like my original training, that if your client is having some sort of reaction or just needs to have their lashes off or whatever, they want you to tell your client to use coconut oil to remove their
I
lashes.
have personally done that and been a victim to
Yeah,
this myth.
it
Didn't
doesn't
work. Didn't
work.
work. Hurt so bad. I was like, I'm just pulling out my lashes at this point. It's not
But I
doing
Yeah.
think
anything.
that that stems from thinking that oil breaks down or
Mhm.
deteriorates lash adhesive, and it doesn't. So, yeah.
Yeah, correct. Not in the traditional sense that people are thinking. A lot of people, I think, have this misunderstanding that, oils kind of work similar to like in the way a solvent would for CA, right? So, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
acetone was a good example. We know acetone works wonderful to get all the sticky stuff off our tweezers,
Yeah.
isolation tweezers, everything, right? It's because it's a solvent, right? And you can see that in the mixture when you dip it in a little bit of agitation and irritate or mechanical stress, and all of that adhesive's gone, right? It's dissolved and it's in that acetone. If you try to do that with, let's say, olive oil, even melted down and warmed coconut oil, right? You're really not going to see that same effect. So, yeah, you are correct. Your oils aren't essentially dissolving or acting like a solvent for your adhesive. And in that, right, the other biggest myth that I hear all the time is, well, if you use any makeup containing oil, all of your lashes are going to fall out instantly. So, like,
Right.
Yeah.
between
LOL.
dissolving and just instant shedding, I think those are my two biggest pet peeves that I hear of oils and cyanacrylate lash adhesives and how they are supposedly interacting together, but not quite.
I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
you I can't even imagine what peeves you when you scroll through Instagram and stuff like that, because like we'll see things and I'm like, that's wrong,
Dude.
but no. And so like I
Yeah,
can't imagine from like a chemist POV who like literally went to college to like study this. You're like,
yeah, it's a difficult climate too because everybody is coming from a good place, I'd say, in a
yeah.
sense, right? They're trying to get information out there
They're
that
just
they think
sharing
is
what they
valuable
know.
and
Yeah.
beneficial. Exactly, but in a sense they might not be aware of kind of that harm that they're doing by spreading said misinformation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, well, just like,
w-
people are like, "Oh, you don't have time to come in to get a removal? It's fine. Just put baby oil and coconut oil all over your eyes." Because like that's kind of where this misinformation and this myth has led to. It's led to, okay, well, it's fine. You can just do this because that works. But I think
Yeah,
it's like
exactly. And
yeah, I think it's like they think, okay, well, if it breaks down lash adhesive, then why couldn't you use it as a remover? Like I get how they
yeah.
get to that
yes.
point. But yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, and especially with the no, like the all natural and everything being very like greenwash nowadays, right? People are looking for organic or simple or clean type beauty, right?
Mhm.
So people
Yeah.
might be more geared towards, well, why use this remover that has all these chemicals in it when I could just
Right.
use coconut oil and just pull a little more? But we know that's not best. That's not good for ocular health, and we know it's not good for follicle health.
Right.
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 So I'm going to bring us into the next question. I feel like
Hmm.
before we get into like the real nitty gritty on a chemistry level about how oils affect lash adhesives, I feel like we should understand how cyanoacrylate based lash adhesives work
Yeah.
first, like how they, you know what I'm trying to say, how they cure, so that lash artists can have a firm understanding of like what that bond looks like for traditional adhesive and for light cured adhesive, because I know they're a little bit different.
Yeah,
Th-
absolutely. So cyanoacrylate behavior, right? Whether it's traditional or light activated, they're still going to be similar in the sense that both of them are still going to be sensitive to humidity, temperature, and moisture, just like your traditional CAs compared to light CAs. Now, both of them work in the traditional sense when you hear curing or drying, right? To us chemists, that's a process called polymerization. And basically, you have these little bits of fragmented Ca molecules, right? You could kind of think of them as like chain links in a fence, right? Just kind of floating separately. Now, when these molecules are exposed to water, traditional Cas and light cured, they begin to undergo a process called polymerization, right? So that water or moisture in the atmosphere initiates the chemical reaction and starts the polymerization process where all of these individual units of these tiny bit of Ca molecules, Ca being cyanoacrylate, start to link up and join in a very uniform way. And through doing that, they create a bond. And because of their molecular structure and some other chemical properties that they have within their composition of that chain, they actually are able to provide adhesion in certain applications. So these tiny little molecules basically are exposed to water and they undergo a rapid chemical reaction to join together to form a stable bond, which is your adhesive. Now, the difference between the traditional and the light cured is we add what's called photoinitiators to our CAs, which react to light and behave in a certain way that can then initiate that polymerization process in conjunction with the moisture in the atmosphere. And the result and difference between traditional and UV, you get a little bit more uniform and tightly packed, I would say, bonds. So, and it can cure a little bit deeper than just the surface, right? Because once you start to cure that outside, at moisture, even though water molecules really good at getting through and they're very tiny, it's a little bit more work for them. So by adding the light into there with the photo initiator, you're actually increasing the energy available for that polymerization reaction to take place and see its way into completion with a more uniform bonding structure.
Ooh, I like the way he said it increases the
Yeah.
energy. I've never thought about it like that, but that
Yeah.
makes sense because you have that light energy getting added to the equation.
So
Yep.
the way that I like to explain the difference between like how it cures is with a traditional adhesive, it's like a hard-boiled egg. So like the white of the egg is going to be the first to cook and then the yolk is the last. So that's kind of like a traditional bond, I guess.
Yes.
And then a glow stick for light cure, how you crack it and the whole thing from the inside to the out um, does it all at the same time, basically. So that's how I explain it to people is like a glow stick versus a hard boiled egg.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's fantastic. That's a great way to look at it too, because you are thinking about it in the sense that you know the adhesive itself like almost forms that polymer network, right? It's
Hmm.
not just like two-dimensional and lateral, right? It is a 3D complex network of these Ca molecules and polymer chains. And if you have PMMA or any other copolymers in there too as well. So it really is kind of like this intricate cool looking matrix. So for water molecules, once this outside starts to get, I'm trying to like center in the screen, but once that outside starts to kind of like harden up, right, those water molecules, when they're penetrating through, they still have to kind of bounce and kind of migrate their way down. And as they're doing that, right, they're still providing energy for that reaction to complete. So the light itself also has the ability to bounce and reflect and refract more efficiently than just water vapor.
That makes so much sense because, like, our opal blush, it's pink, and we actually, this was an unexpected side effect of the pink color was that it refracted light a little bit differently than like the
Yeah.
clear or our purple adhesive. And so we kind of coined the term disco DNA because just kind of like you explained it, like, you know how when light hits a disco ball, it like shines everywhere? That's kind
Mm-hmm.
of what we were picturing, like the molecules, the light going in and
Hmm.
the photons kind of being
Yeah.
like woo 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 woo. So that's cool
Yes.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you
That's a
reminded me of
great
that
way
when
to
you were
think of it.
explaining it.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, I kind of thought you guys made it pink on purpose, so we're just gonna say you guys did it on purpose.
Well, I
You
mean, we
know,
made it pink on purpose, but we didn't know it would cure faster because it was
I'm
pink.
sure that our
Yes.
chemist knew
Yeah,
because
she definitely
um
did.
because when we asked her, we were like, "Hey, so this one seems like it's curing quicker." And she was like, "Well, it is."
Yeah,
So,
lighter in
and
color, right?
yeah, yeah. So she was like, "It's because of the shade of pink that it is.
Mhm.
It refracts the purple light better than the
Yes.
other two." So yeah, she knew,
Yes.
but we didn't. We just wanted to make it pink and cute. So,
I know. We were just like, the lash industry likes pink, so we're gonna
yeah,
make it pink.
That's amazing. Two birds with one stone right there.
exactly.
Exactly. It was awesome. So now that we kind of understand how those molecular bonds are formed and holding on to each other during polymerization, how do oils interact with those bonds? What do they actually go in there and disrupt something, or kind of, do they do anything? Like, what's the tea?
Yeah, so there's a couple factors at play there, right? So a couple things are going to obviously matter, right? What type of oil that's coming into contact with the adhesive, the oil's composition. Oils aren't just like one singular molecule of like castor oil. They're made up of,
Yeah.
terpenes, fatty acids, flavonoids, carotenoids, like all these different compounds, right? So there's a lot of other chemicals in there, and depending on the composition of the oil, it could react more aggressively or less aggressively, I guess is how I would phrase it. So there is some minor surface chemistry going on at the surface, right? But again, it's not like we think in the traditional sense of like solvent and solute, right? Nothing's being dissolved at the surface, but these are chemical molecules that are susceptible to reactions. So depending on the oil, the frequency of use, and also how complete the bond is, right? So we talked a little bit about the differences between light cured and traditional cyanacrylate adhesives. Your traditional CAs, and even still light cured to some extent, right? There's always going to be user error involved, right? Sometimes people aren't going to have the best bond set. Sometimes you're still even going to be fighting with, humidity, temperature, and other
It's like half
factors, even though
cured by
like
the time you get it to the lash, that kind of stuff.
yeah. So, the 24 to 48-hour rule of like trying to let things kind of fully reach their completion of cure and like reach that completely inert and polymerized state, I think is a big factor too. So, all of these things kind of come into play, but there is definitely surface chemistry going on there. As you mentioned with coconut oil, right? It has a high concentration of fatty acids in it. And those fatty acids, while they don't tend to dissolve the bonds, they're really good at penetrating and slipping and sliding deeper in. So if that adhesive, right, has any deformities, has any defects, or hasn't been completely cured yet and is exposed to oil, that oil's really good at working its way in there, and it basically has what's called a plasticizing effect. So, plasticizing basically is a chemist. You add ingredients to plastics like CAs that are hard and rigid and brittle to make them more durable and flexible. That's why we see PMMA so much in CAs, right? Because it has a plasticizing effect, but it doesn't affect the integrity of the bond. Now, oils, when I say plasticize them, they're just making them softer and more pliable at the surface, right? So that's
Mm.
where it kind of comes. You mentioned, people used to suggest, hey, you could just, goop some coconut oil on there, give it a little irritation and pull. You're kind of by working it in there, getting it into those cracks and helping it penetrate and then helping swell those bonds. So you're working those molecules in between that free space of those CA bonds to kind of force the volume to free up and increase. And by increasing that volume and that free space, you start to lose some of your tensile strengths and diminish some of your mechanical properties.
Ooh, I have a good analogy that I was picturing in my brain when you're explaining this. So,
Yes.
when we're in our master classes, a lot of times we'll explain like CA bonds with like sponges. So I'm picturing like a sponge, and then you have that coconut oil that's basically, so the sponge is going to be like what fully cured cyanoacrylate looks like, right? We can see the pores in it, but obviously it's still like really tight. So I picture like
Yeah.
the coconut oil molecules able to fit in the sponge pores better to get down to the natural ash. And then it's almost like swelling up the sponge, because when a sponge fills with water, it gets bigger. And then
Yes. Yeah.
it
You're
and
seeing
then
those pores take space and push that air out.
yeah, so it might
Yeah.
get like a little slippery, which is kind of what you were getting at. Is that correct?
So yeah,
Theoretically.
by freeing up that space, you're increasing the amount of slip and making it easier for those polymer chains to slide by each other with less friction, right? Less
Mm.
durability. So like they do have an effect and they don't dissolve them, but they are certain oils, and depending on frequency of use, exposure, how well the application went. I mean, a handbag full of variables, right? They can plasticize or soften the CAs, but they're not going to degrade them or dissolve them in the traditional sense that people are thinking, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
So I
So,
usually refer to it as like it wedges in to little
yeah.
nooks and crannies. Like that's how I picture it, is that it's like wedging into all these little spaces.
Yeah, essentially, and that's what it's doing, and it's exploiting that free space to essentially add more volume in between them, and by adding that volume in between, they're able to move more freely, which gives
Mhm.
you less rigidity, more flexibility, but almost like softens it. So again,
Mm.
some of those mechanical properties kind of get lost in it when it becomes soft and has that devoided space because it loses that tacticity and adhesion.
Okay.
Okay. So to continue on the sponge analogy. So like for example, when we're in our class, you know the scrub daddy sponges, how they have like really big rigid pores? That's what we
Yes.
call like a regular cyanoacrylate traditional adhesive without
With
bonder.
no
When it
bonder.
cure Yeah, with no bonder, it cures with like big rigid pores like that. If you were to put
Yes.
bonder on it, then when it cures down to like a kitchen sponge. It's a little bit of a tighter grip, but it still has like visible pores where stuff could potentially slip in, but obviously it's going to be harder than like a scrub daddy sponge. And then we
Yes.
have Opal, which is Lash Apothecary's UV lash adhesive. And I know you're familiar with it because we talk to you all the time.
Yeah.
But we
Oh, yeah.
say that Opal cures down to like a magic eraser sponge where it's
I
really
was just gonna
tighter.
say.
You can't see the pores. So would I mean, I know we talked about like light curing cures a little bit tighter than traditional adhesive. So in that sense, wouldn't I mean, common sense brings me to the point that like those oils could easily affect traditional cured adhesive better than light cured adhesive. Am I correct in that
Yes.
assumption?
Yes, absolutely, because of how the bond itself takes shape, right? So, like, I love the analogy of the sponge, and I was hoping you were going to end with Magic Eraser being like cured. That's
Yes.
fantastic. Because it is very similar to that, right? And that's why I kind of I was looking for the right word, and I ended up with the word like packing. Because when we talk about polymers and polydispersity index and a couple other ways to measure and define these polymers, right? We often look at how uniform they pack, right? So the way that these molecules are able to pack and arrange themselves in the polymer network or polymer matrix is heavily influenced by, your traditional versus light cured. As we mentioned, that light cured, it's more effective because not only are you attacking it from a two-way front, being light with the photo initiator and humidity, but also you have a more controlled rate and a higher amount of energy going in there to make that cure more uniform and evenly distributed throughout, if that makes sense. So you're going to have basically like um, a more neatly cured adhesive. It's more neatly arranged, I guess,
Mm.
is the best way, right?
They're
It's
very
not as
aesthetic, very
random.
demure.
Yeah,
Yes.
very demanding.
I always like to think of like the molecules. I'll say if it's traditional adhesive, they're all holding hands and linking up that way. But if they're light curing, it's all like they're
They're
giving each other
hugging.
like hugs.
Yes. Yeah, that's a fit. You guys got really good analogies.
Thank
We're
you.
just analogy girls.
We
I
are
feel like it
analogy
helps
girls.
bring like a visual to explaining like the chemistry and understanding what the molecules are doing. Because otherwise, like I can't picture molecules linking up, but I can picture like a little mosh pit of them hugging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's the best way to think of them because molecules and chemicals, they're no different than people, right? They all have their own family groups that they belong to. They all have their behaviors and they have their outside factors that they're all influenced by. They're
Yeah.
people. So if you think
Yeah.
about them in that sense, it's a lot easier to kind of break down that science and make those links. So like that's why I say great job on the analogies.
Thank you.
Thanks. Um,
Yeah.
So now that we've covered, like, it'll definitely affect traditional adhesive a little bit more, I want to circle back to I know we were talking about coconut oil, but like, I feel like the average person is not just having coconut oil on their face. So
Yeah.
are there, and is coconut oil like, is that the one that affects it the most, or like what oils should we be looking out for? Is this something that we should be worried about? I'm asking you like 8 questions
Yeah.
in one.
I, so no, you're fine. Absolutely. So there are some oils, like I mentioned, that are better than others, right? So your lighter oils that are more easily absorbed, they don't have as much as an occlusive effect, leave a greasy film, and they have less of like uh, polyoil content, if you will, OH groups attached to them in plentiful amounts, in a sense. So their ability to affect the adhesive at the surface involving surface chemistry, whether it's with the adhesive's polymer backbone, that ester, or some of the side chains coming off of it, it's less likely to happen with certain oils than it is other oils. And a lot of it, as I mentioned, just kind of has to do with their composition. So, like, to keep it high level for all the lash artists and lash ladies out there and gentlemen, um, I would say your lighter oils really are going to be your sweet almond, your argan oil, and then uh, always forget it. Like grapeseed oil is another good light oil, right? And these oils still offer great moisturizing properties and benefits that people are looking for, but they're just a little more suitable to use along the lash line. The oils, I'd say that like I tend to tell people to avoid: coconut oil, as we talked extensively about. Mineral oils are another one because of their type of composition and their content. They're more likely to react. They're a little bit heavier, and then the other light type of oil that I'd say is, it's hit or miss, because I guess I should say, before avoiding all of these, don't just look at the ingredient list and be like, this has this, I can't use it. The concentration matters incredibly,
Yeah.
right? So that does play a large effect. So if you're using like raw oils to moisturize your face, then yes, avoid them in this order. But be mindful of the products you're buying and the concentration. If it's oil based, water based, etc. But the other oils are essential oils. And I know people use a lot of essential oils, but typically they're suspended in an alcohol based solution, which will affect the adhesive's surface chemistry a little bit there, and can also have like a drying effect and a brittling effect on the natural lash themselves.
I can't
But
imagine that would be
terpenes,
great for the eyes anyways.
Yeah, probably not
no, but
really good for the tear film.
What?
terpenes are a big thing. You'd be surprised because a lot of people now, especially with again, the greenwashing, right? A lot of people are using like geranol, limonene, and other things as natural preservatives, antifungals, and things for eye creams, serums, your lotions. So you do want to watch with those, because those terpenes usually are highly volatile substances composed of hydrocarbons. So there can be some reaction there. I'd say the number one terp that people would probably encounter would be your tea tree oil, which is like basically alpha, beta, and gamma pinene.
Hmm.
So those can have some effect along the lash line. I know a lot of people use tea tree oil shampoos, is kind of where my thoughts at.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question about mineral oil. Somebody,
I
because
was gonna
we're
say, I feel
very,
like I was thinking the same
yeah,
thing. I was like, I
it's
feel
in
like we're
eye
talking about
drops.
mineral oil.
It's in eye drops sometimes, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're very big on like making sure the eyes are hydrated and the pH balance is where it should be, and then the tear film is intact and all that stuff. And so, uh, we only recommend like artificial tears, just lubricating artificial tears, nothing else. Somebody sent me eye drops, and they were lubricating for dry eyes, and they had mineral oil in them. So how would that affect um,
Interesting.
extensions? Because I
It's
do. I
very
here. Let
interesting.
me. I'm gonna find it and see if
It was our text messages. I can find it quicker if you want me to
it
resend
was
it.
in ours.
Because I
Yeah.
texted it to you. No, I texted it in our group chat, our Lash
Oh
Apothecary
yeah.
group chat.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's
It,
very interesting.
it was the AcuSoft lubricating ones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I would say, because again, that's a good point. I'm happy you brought that up. So that kind of goes into the concentration aspect, right? So we know that those lubricating eye drops are pretty much like 90+% saline, with just a tiny bit of, polyamino or other surfactants, wetting agents, preservatives, or
Uh-huh.
other types of ingredients. So because of the low concentration of it, I would say you're
Probably
pretty
fine.
good, but I know a lot of people will use like baby oil or mineral oil which baby oil is mineral oil,
Right, right,
for
right.
those who don't know, for tanning purposes or skincare routines or, to get rid of crow's feet and things along the lash line. So I'd say the other big takeaway about this is, a lot of these products, think to yourself, how many products am I really using directly along the lash line, right? Like, do I really need to avoid everything with these? Probably not, right? I'd say,
Right.
you would want to focus highly on products that you're being applied along the lash line containing these ingredients. So, like your nighttime creams and eye creams, daily face washes for acne or just makeup removal, things like that. And that's why, in the industry, we've come up with lash safe products. I think people often think that lash cleansers are kind of like a marketing ploy,
Suggestion.
if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where
Yeah.
it's like, no, we like these are specifically designed with like ocular health in mind, on top of lash safety and like the integrity of the lash itself. So I
Okay.
think, taking advantage of those products too out there could make a lot of a difference in people's routines.
Yeah, I agree. I think, but well, and I think that sometimes people take it to the extreme and they just avoid them altogether.
Yeah, like you have to
But
check
then
all
it's
your
like you
makeup has
shouldn't.
to be oil free, all your
Yeah.
skincare has to be oil free,
And I just don't feel like that's
shampoos,
true.
face washes.
No, and I think this is actually this is one of the ones we are going to talk about, but if you guys are okay with it, we can
Yeah.
jump to it. So like
Yeah,
I think honestly, the whole oil-free skincare for the lash industry, I think there's some truth to it. Like there's reason behind it, but it is outdated and it needs innovated and brought into the future, right? So
Mhm.
as I mentioned, if you're using a hand cream and a neck cream that has coconut oil and high oil content, your stuff's probably not going to migrate upwards your face,
I hope
So
not.
is coconut
so
oil comedogenic? Like where it clogs
uh
pores?
it can be comedogenic. It depends on who you're buying it from, to be honest. I've
Okay,
myself dealing with cystic acne often. I've tried like every remedy under the sun for a
Same.
lot of stuff. So cold press, first press, organic, non-heated coconut oil, where the jar is like maybe 16 ounces and it's like $32. It's pretty good at not being comedogenic, but any other ones that I've found are typically like pretty poor clogging for the most part. And it just has to do with how heavily they are refined or aren't refined, and then the raw materials that
Mhm.
person's manufacturing with.
got
Oh,
you. So
okay.
they'd probably be like an pretty expensive moisturizer to have like coconut oil in it that wouldn't clog you up.
That's yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're, sensitive skin like me, I'd
Same.
say always kind of stay away from those types of cleansers anyways. Look for something that's more suitable for sensitive skin, whether it's moisturizers, cleansers, or that.
What
Ooh, I
about
have
like
a question.
Vaseline? What about like
Yeah.
Vaseline? Like
Vaseline is
petroleum jelly?
petroleum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's petroleum jelly. So it's a heavy occlusive agent, and a lot of it's not really going to penetrate down, but it's going to
Right.
sit on top. And that's the
Okay.
other half of oils, right? So
Right.
going back to lash baths, one way oils will interfere is if you make sure those lashes aren't properly cleansed. Say someone does do Vaseline on their eyelids, because ironically enough, my mother puts it on her eyelids every night. It's
Yeah,
funny
I
you
have
brought that
a
up.
couple clients that do that, and I mean, their
Yeah, so if you
retention's
don't
fine.
wash it well,
Their retention's fine. It just like weighs them down, I guess. So that's why I
yeah,
wondered, like, if
yeah,
that was
exactly.
affecting anything or whatever.
Yeah, I'd say Vaseline's more of like it's going to be a film barrier more so than
Okay.
anything, not so much like seeping in and working its way in. But it being a petro jelly, I would say if it was like in a liquid phase, it'd have a lot more of an effect. But because it's in that gel-like phase, you're not going to see too much other than it being an occlusive agent and just kind of sitting right on top there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I have another question. Are you aware about like I know I don't do it, so that's why I don't know a lot about it, but I know a lot of people do like oil cleansers where they like use
Oh,
an oil
yeah.
to cleanse their face. I bet that we have clients in the lash industry who do that. Is that like
Mhm.
I don't know if you know
I
about
have
that.
heard of that, but I feel like that's something that's kind of like a newer trend, at least like from what I've heard. It doesn't seem like it's
Yeah.
as common. I would say just kind of the same things along the Vaseline, right? If you do have clients who use that, you just want to make sure you wash along that lash line and the follicles well with a lash shampoo before service, just to make sure that you're, getting all that film off and not putting any barrier in between the natural lash and the lash extension for the adhesion to bond to, or
Mm.
adhesive.
Lash bath before the service. That's what I heard.
Mm.
Lash bath before the
Interesting.
service.
It's almost like, correct me if I'm wrong, it's almost like we should be washing our clients' lashes.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah, I'm a big
Mhm.
eliminate variables because
Mhm.
even if someone says they do it, I'm not going to think you're going to wash it as well as I'm going to wash it. So I'm just going to
Exactly.
wash it
Right.
to my standard, and that way everybody who comes in,
It
what
has the same
I'm not
starting
saying.
point. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It just takes another variable out, and that's it. And it's not something, it is a product. If you charge for that service, fine. If you don't, fine. Either way. But I just think overall, in the general consensus of application standardization, I think it is good practice to develop.
It benefits
Amen.
everyone. It benefits the client. It benefits your application as a lash artist, and therefore
Well,
that'll affect your retention because everyone's worried about retention.
I don't
Yes,
well, and I
but
worry
not
about
ocular health.
right? I worry about what did they wash with before they came? Was it baby shampoo? Was it your face
Face
cleanser?
wash.
Was it yeah. Or
Was it
was
a
Yeah.
it
rinse?
like
Splash your
yeah, was it
face
a
with
rinse?
water?
Was it micellar water? Like what you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
so it's like I don't know what's on there. And then I guarantee that they used tap water. So then their tear film is stripped. So
Yeah,
there's that. That's a whole
absolutely.
nother ball of wax. You know what I mean? So it's like if I know that you came in and washed them and then rinsed with tap water and then I'm about to apply a bunch of irritants and chemicals, that's probably
Yeah,
not a good idea. So yeah.
yeah,
I like to
absolutely.
just
And
wash
think
and rinse with saline. Like it just eliminates a lot of issues.
Yeah, exactly. And I like how you put it, right? Everybody's at the same starting point when you start
Mhm.
with that process because, as you mentioned, people have all sorts of different routines. Some people might wash their face and then put on a hydrating facial spray right after, not even thinking about it?
Right,
That's
right.
true. I didn't know about
Yeah.
that. So you mentioned micellar water.
Yeah.
Is I know a lot of people use micellar water to remove their makeup, dirt road into micellar water. Would micellar water affect lash retention as well? The bond?
So when we think about all the factors outside of the oil's composition that we talked about, right? The integrity of the bond, how long it's been cured, other things. We know micellar water is really effective at deep penetration and getting down into the nitty gritty and the nooks and crannies of your pores to get that
Yeah.
off because of the micelles that are formed, right? And the micelle chemistry that's going on. So I will say they are pretty effective at getting into those nooks and crannies along your lash line as well. The positive is most people who have lashes, not all, but most people who have lashes typically don't tend to wear any eyeliner or mascara with them. So it's fantastic. So you really don't have to do too much heavy scrubbing along the lash line to kind of remove and do your nightly cleanse. But that being said, it can definitely have an effect. But again, just like oils, right? All brands of micellar water are not created equally. They have different compositions, different nourishing ingredients. Even the micelle size itself might be smaller, bigger, larger, less effective at penetrating, more effective at penetrating. So it really kind of all depends. I'll say, just like oils, you're not going to go and wash your lashes with micellar water and they're all just going to fall out and just instantly
Right.
dissolve the bond. That definitely
Right.
Yes.
won't happen. But they can have some effect over time, from normal wear and tear.
Hmm.
Didn't we get someone asking us recently, Liv, about rinsing with micellar water instead of
Yeah.
saline?
Yeah, I would not rinse with micellar water just because of all, and I hate to say it, because of all the surfactants and other stuff, because there is other chemicals at play, obviously, with saline. It's not just a chemical thing, but it's the type of chemicals you're using, right?
Right.
Micellar water, it even instructs you to rinse off the micellar water after you're done
Okay.
using it. Like you're supposed
Yeah.
to rinse your face after using. So um, I would say because of residue formation and other types of surface
Reflect.
chemistry that could be interacting with those micelles, it wouldn't. necessarily say to rinse for it, and because of the tear film. That doesn't sound like it
That's
would
what
be
I said
beneficial for
too.
the tear film.
Okay,
That's what
that's
I
kind
said.
of
I
the
was like,
conclusion that we came to, but I was like,
yeah.
well, while we're talking about this, I'm nosy on
Well,
your
because
opinion.
and I don't know, maybe it's just because like I have really sensitive skin, but the one time that I tried to use micellar water, it felt oily, like
That's
greasy.
why I
It has
asked because it felt oily to me too, so I didn't know if it was like oil
Are
based
there
or
oils in
I didn't
there
know.
or
Yeah.
okay, that's
yes.
what I thought.
Sorry,
I'm
I
like,
didn't mean to give that look. I just saw myself on the camera. Yes, yeah, they are. Yeah, you can look at it as like just like soap, right? So they're basically, and you could have oil and water and oil emulsion micelles, right? So
uh-huh.
you're either going to have your little head that's hydrophobic, and then the tails that are all fat loving, not hydrophobic, hydrophilic and lipophilic,
Uh-huh.
or vice versa, right? You're going to have all your tails that are fat loving and your head that's water loving, essentially. So they're just basically like when you look at the little soap molecules with the two different heads, it's basically a circle with those essentially coming off of it. It almost looks
Uh,
like a weird thing, like an amoeba, if you will. It's real weird.
okay.
I'm this is really inappropriate, but I'm picturing sperm.
Dude, that I was gonna say, like it kind of looks like that. I didn't
That's
know
what
how
I'm
else.
picturing.
Yeah, when you look at it after this, go look at like micelle shapes because there's a different type, like a different couple that you have, right? So like there's your dome, there's like your cross section with like your strands of micelle tails coming off. You could have them almost like aligned in sheets, but basically like what we see most commonly is your surfactant style molecules with like your balls and your tails and chains coming off of them.
We're gonna
Okay.
call them tadpoles. I feel like that's
Yeah.
better.
Tadpoles. There you go.
That's funny.
um, let's
I
see.
love it.
I'm trying to figure out what questions. Okay, here's a good question. Is it possible for oils to improve the flexibility and longevity of the bonds in a way?
So I would say how we talked about the plasticizing effect that they can have. They can definitely make them more pliable and fl- I'd say pliable's a better word because when I think of like flexibility, right? Like if my finger's straight and I pull it back, it goes right back into the straight position, right? It has like that memory. So when you're making plastics and plasticizing them and making them more pliable, it's almost like ductwork, right? So like if you want to bend it this way, it'll just stay bent that way more so often. It's not going to go back
Mm,
into its actual shape. So it in a sense makes them softer and more flexible, but it's not necessarily going to increase their longevity, and it might actually make them more susceptible to outside environmental factors because you're adding that extra space, which is allowing those chains to move back and forth past each other more freely. And that gives opportunity for more things to work their way in there as well and create more space, which
mm,
can kind of diminish some of those mechanical properties like tensile strength and other things like that. But there are other products that you can use in combination with your adhesives that we're aware of, like super bonders and boosters, to not only control the rate at which they polymerize, not as effectively as like light curing does, but also kind of improve some of their mechanical characteristics that I talk about, like tensile strength, flexibility, impact resistance. Again, PMMA kind of does all those things and checks off multiple boxes by incorporating it. So that's why we see PMMA used so oftenly.
mhm.
Okay, so now I have an interesting question. I feel like me and Liv will enjoy this question more so than anyone else. Are there any like we're big on like PubMed articles, clinical articles for like everything. I feel like it helps deliver education to the lash industry like hey, cuz I feel like everyone kind of gets on says, "Hey, I'm an educator. Here's this knowledge." But we kind of like to have
Where'd
receipts.
you get it from?
Yeah,
Yeah.
receipts in a way. So, are you aware of any receipts that maybe like back up this information about how oils affect lash adhesives? I know it's kind of hard because like we don't
Oh,
have a lot of studies on lash adhesives
Yeah.
specifically.
And that's the key, right? So think of CAs as a whole. Cyanoacrylates are widely used through so many industrial industries, from automotive to even aerospace. Like NASA uses cyanoacrylate, like on some of their ISS
Ooh.
and other stuff. Yeah, so like it is widely used. So what you can find this information, it's not going to be like you said on like, oh, this lash artist measured the effect of oils on her lash adhesives
Yeah.
x amount of days using GCMS and all of these great fancy tools, right? You're really not going to find too many of those studies. You will find some here and there fringe research, and I only say fringe because a lot of it comes from like reviews essentially. And basically, for those who don't know, when people do an academic review, they just take all the published information available on one said subject, take all those papers, and then kind of condense it down and
Make it
say,
like a research
hey,
paper.
yes, exactly, exactly. So you can find those, and that's more in the nail space that you'll see some of that. So you can go on ResearchGate is one that I always use. PubMed is another one that you
We love
mentioned that
PubMed.
has great information, but it might not have everything you have. MDPI is also a fantastic source of information and peer-reviewed research, as well as companies' findings and manufacturer studies. But you'll find some information basically from the nail industry, because cyanoacrylates and polyacrylic is heavily used in there, right? They actually will use, when you're using your acrylic nails and they're doing the nail glue with the acrylic, they'll actually put avocado or, oh, what was the other oil? I knew I should have wrote it down and I didn't the one time. It was avocado or another oil I came across, but they actually use it to slow down the rate of polymerization, reduce
Ooh.
the amount of heat generated during the process, and it actually preserves some of the keratin proteins, I guess, from the way that the
Oh,
article described it. So, when after a while of, nail glue, press, all that stuff, your beds are like shot rigid, they have waves. It's supposed to slow down that process, essentially, from what I read. So,
interesting.
because it has a plasticizing effect on the adhesive during the curing process.
Wow.
Um, so cosmetic wise, you'll find some stuff in like the nails and manicure space. Again, it's limited. If you want to look for more like heavy kind of concrete information, I would say look in like the adhesives in sealants research. It's not going to be as fun or engaging to read,
Yeah.
but it has what you're looking for there.
Okay.
That sounds like really similar to when we're trying to find like research for backing up the safety of light curing. It's like I feel like people want a PubMed article that's like, are UV lash extensions safe?
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily the
It's
case. You
No.
have to look
no,
for research from like different places. So we do a lot of research on like UVA1 phototherapy, and just
yeah,
because a lot of studies and research like that, people don't understand that it's big corporations that have money to fund those studies and do those
yeah,
research,
not
and the
us.
No, not
yeah,
us.
and we don't have that in the lash industry. Like none of us are multi-billion-dollar companies that can throw thousands of dollars to do a 15-year study
Mm-mm.
on the safety of UV lash extension specifically, or how
Yeah.
exactly oils affect lash adhesives specifically. So I totally understand, and that resonates a lot
Yeah,
with it
Yeah.
takes a
You
unique
just have to put
perspective to
all the
research.
pieces
Yes.
together. You find all of the things and then you're like, okay, because I what I saw from this article, this article, this article, and this article, my conclusion is blah blah blah. Like,
blank.
so
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's crazy too, because like you guys say, so many of these things we think like, oh, this is like revolutionary, like no one's ever done this. They have, just not in this industry. Nine
Yes.
times out of 10, it just
Exactly.
exists somewhere else. So like, light therapy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but like dental fillings, TPO and BAPO, when they go to
Mhm.
set your fillings and put that UV in there, you got TPO and BAPO in your
Yeah.
mouth if you have fillings in the past 10 years. So,
Yeah.
and it's safe and effective and works great. That's why we use it. So,
Right.
for you guys and others to be able to recognize, like, hey, there's potential for this in this application in this industry, and they've done the safety. I like that you guys really kind of explain that It's not ever going to be black and white. It's not going to be,
No.
hey,
Yeah.
PubMed says lash extensions are safe. Here's the 10-year study from L'Oreal. They did it.
Yeah, like we wish, but
Yeah.
that's I mean, that's not the way the world works, even with like I feel like in any field. I mean,
Well, because I
unless
feel like
you're
if
like
you
putting out a
Google,
drug, I mean, you're
yeah,
not
yeah, you're not gonna get the study because, like, if you were to Google, for example, does oil affect lash extensions? It's probably gonna tell you yes. It's probably gonna say yes, right?
It
Because you
will tell you
asked,
yes.
yeah, because you asked a very general question, and so it's going to give you a very general answer. It's just gonna be like, I mean, yeah, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
and
it does
it's
something.
hard now too with AI. You know, you have all these
Ugh,
different platforms, and like what we're coming to
pulling
learn,
from
ChatGPT.
everything.
it pulls from everything. It has no filter, whether it's getting that
No.
information from a blog or anything. So it is still
Yeah.
just like using Google. You still have to vet your stuff. You still have to look at what the experts are saying and rely on the real
Yeah.
science. Because a lot of times too, they found that these learning models and AI intelligence services, sometimes they will just make things up if
Oh,
they don't
yeah.
know. Where it's
Yes.
like it can be
Chat
dangerous, especially in this
ChatGPT
misinformation world.
ChatGPT does that all the time. I have to call that girl out all the time. I'm like, "Excuse me,
Same.
you made
I'm
that
like,
up."
"Ma'am."
Yes, yes,
I
yeah,
always
I
tell her,
know.
"Find me a clinical article because girl."
Yeah.
And then from
And
there,
then
I
she's
even have
like,
to
"You're
click on
right.
the
I did
article and
make that
double
up."
check because she'll send me like an article and it'll say page not found. And I'm like,
Yeah, and
did
I'm
we
like, "You
just
made
make
that
this
up."
up?
Yeah, and they will make up links. That is one of the
Mhm.
biggest issues with them. So it is like I always say, you know, with all that AI and everything, because people really are now like, yeah, people want to know, people feel empowered by it. They're like, oh, I can take on anybody with this now and challenge anybody. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
is, it's a great tool, but I like it more for like assistant stuff. Like,
Yes,
hey,
"Hey,
help
rewrite
Yes.
me
this
with
for
this
me."
prompt, improve my flow.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Make this
Mm,
digestible.
yes.
That's great
Break this
stuff.
up into some nice carousels or
Yeah.
Yeah,
find me
exactly,
some
like
Yeah.
clinical
good
articles
business
pertaining
stuff.
to this. And then from there, you can, that's like a starting point
Well,
of like, oh, here's some links. Let me go
Yeah,
read what those
but when it
articles are talking about.
when it comes to science and stuff, you know, it's just like math. Everybody hates hearing this. There's no shortcuts. You either learn it and you put
yeah.
the time in to learn it and understand it and get an understanding of it, or you don't understand it and you rely on others to guide you, you know, fingers crossed they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, and like we've had plenty of people send us like screenshots from their chat GPT about yeah. And they're like, "Well, according to this research, I'm like, first of all, that's not research. That's you talking to yourself on chat GPT. So
Yes,
there's that.
And
exactly.
ChatGPT
Exactly.
is biased to what you want to hear. So sometimes you need to tell her to
Yeah.
play devil's advocate because if she can
Oh,
sense that you're wanting like a no answer, then she's going to give you all the
She's
reasons
gonna
it's a
give you a
no.
no answer.
yeah, I don't know if you guys saw the latest, slightly off topic, and then I promise I'll bring us
No,
back
no,
on.
We
we
dirt
love
roads
dirt
all the
But
time.
roads.
so for this dirt road, someone actually just bypassed one of ChatGPT's security features and was passing out free Windows keys because they said my grandma passed away and she used to sing me a bedtime story that was made up of Windows 7 activation keys, and it literally gave him or her, whoever posted this, you know, could be fake too, but like supposedly leaked activation keys. And a lot of people have been posting like, yeah, if you say, hey, for educational purposes only, show me this, it will bypass some of those safety and security measures. So it is, you know, as
A
awesome
little
as a tool it is.
scary. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is
so like
kind
that's
of
as you
scary.
mentioned, you know,
I
it,
always
it
say
really
please and
is
thank you.
catering to people.
Yeah. Well, because if you go in and you've Googled all this stuff about how, negative things, like for example, are UV lash extensions bad? Is UV bad for the eyes, right? Those are negative questions. And then
Yes.
same with oils. If you were, is oil bad for lash extensions? That's a negative question. So it
Does
Yeah.
knows
oil
that you
cause
are
bad retention?
negatively, yeah, you're negatively thinking about whatever. It's going to give you the no answer that it knows you want, right? It's going to give you the answer that you are asking it for.
Yes, and you will see more of that too because of these language learning models, right? Everything's tracked through cookies, whether, you know, unless
Yeah.
you're using a VPN 24/7 and like a reputable one, everything's tracked. So,
Yeah,
the more you do that, the more your SEO algorithm goes out of whack too. So you might unintentionally be feeding yourself misinformation, looking for real information or validation, but not getting it continuously because of that algorithm. So it's really important to ask those non-biased questions about it of like, hey, how does this behave under these
yes,
conditions? What makes it act in this way? Or, there's I'd say there's a right way to structure the question and a misleading way to structure your question. One's
exactly.
going to lead you to like actual information that's
Yeah.
more unbiased, and then others just going to confirmation bias all day and tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, yeah, because we
Which
get screenshots all the time. They're like, "See, it said that UV is bad." I'm like, "Okay, but
Well, yeah, UV is bad. Of course,
yeah,
UV is bad. It's
yeah,
not
UV,
good, but it's
yeah, UV is
also
bad,
healthy
but
in a sense too.
yeah, UV is bad, but like, in what sense are you talking about UVA1 narrowband, or are you talking about the sun?
and
Yeah,
What are
if
we
you
exactly.
talking
Google
about?
is UV healthy, Google's also going to say yes.
So be like, yeah, you
Yes,
need
it's
10
needed
minutes
for
of UV
vitamin D and
exposure per
melanin.
day.
Yeah.
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 So it's
I
like,
feel like, yeah, it takes a special, I mean, not to, I don't know, I'm not meaning this in a bad way, but I do feel like it takes a special person to learn how to research those type of
mhm,
things because, like, this is something you probably relate to. I went to school and got a bachelor's in health science. So I
Yeah.
had to
Oh,
do
yeah.
a lot of like medical research papers where I had to learn the right questions to ask to get the credible articles to be able to cite and write, my essays and stuff like that. And I'm sure you went through that in chemistry. So that's why I say it
Yeah.
almost takes like a unique kind of person to maybe find this scientific backed information, if you will, because the average person's just general question to Google isn't gonna be effective.
Yes, exactly. And then you also, run into the instance where people kind of just, read the top of the article and they're like, oh, yes, it said right
The
here,
Google
oils
AI
dissolve adhesive.
summary.
I'm good to go. It's done. The research is done without actually reading like, oh, well, it was like in a solvent system of THF at, 25C reflux for 2 hours. What I'm just saying stuff, but whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
you go into it, you actually read the methods and you're like, oh, this is specific to this instance in these conditions.
right, exactly. And so I think that that's where a lot of the misinformation and kind of like, I don't want to say confusion.
No, I would say
That makes it sound like
confusion.
we're stupid, but that's not like,
I
it's just
mean I mean,
confusion. It's,
We
yeah.
all
and
are a little bit though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we
Just a little.
yeah, just a little. But like, it is, it's just we're all confused. Like, is it
Yeah.
all
It's a
oils?
game
Is
of
it some
telephone.
oils?
Yeah.
Is it no oils? Is it, and so it's just kind of like, you hear in your training like oil breaks it down, so then you're just like, avoid oil.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because it's easier than to get into the conversation with your client like, hey, my eye cream has this type of oil. You can say, oh no, that's actually totally fine. The concentration isn't high enough. It's not a type of oil that's actually going to get in and penetrate anything, so you're good, don't worry about it, right? It's easier to
Yes.
just say, just avoid oil, and so then that's
Yeah,
what everyone
exactly.
does.
And just blanket statements it. And I
Yeah.
like that you said, you guys brought up that it is a game of telephone. What I find like very interesting about the lash industry, right, is, people forget how new that the lash industry is. I
I say
Thank
mean,
it
like
all the
you.
time.
there's
We're
no
almost a
one who's been lashing
newborn.
for 50 plus years. Or let
No.
me rephrase that, very few. Like if you've worked in Hollywood all your life, then there's a small chance as a makeup artist that was part
Yeah.
of your thing, but that wasn't just your thing as a makeup artist. Like that there hasn't been a lash artist for 50, 60, 70 years. You guys are
No.
really like, the first generation of lash artists
Mhm.
who are playing telephone and passing this information down. So it
Yes.
really is essential that like, for the industry's longevity, we have conversations like these and people reach out to experts, whether it's a chemist, health science expert, lash artist in the industry, brand owner, whatever your expertise
Optometrist.
is.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anything. It's good to fill those gaps of information now with credible science from real professionals who have real world industry experience, because that's what's really going to help carry, set the standards, provide innovation, and make sure that this industry is sustainable is conversations like these, oils and adhesives.
Yes. Well, and it's funny because my mom, the way that she explained the way that the industry was pre light curing and the way that it is after are two totally different things.
Oh yeah.
Like before it was a guessing game. We were using baby shampoo to wash and all this stuff, and we were it was almost like we were trying to figure it all out. And there wasn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
enough information because we're such a new industry. But then this innovation with light curing came about, and it opens a door for all of these new
It's
types
forcing
of
people to kind of pay
learn
attention
the
to the
science.
science.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that because, we're in a great time right now where we really are in that age of information, but it's not even just so much that. It's like the quest for knowledge right now. So
Yes.
many people are dying to know and have good education so that they can understand everything, whether it's cosmetics, food, exercise, new diets that are coming out left and right all the time.
Yeah.
Pharmaceuticals, even with like GLPs and semaglutides.
Mhm.
So like there's a lot of innovation, and people, especially in the lash industry and cosmetic space, they want to know, how does this work? How is this affecting me? How am I going to be in years? Am I going to have eyelashes left in 10 years from now? Like, these are all
Yeah.
questions that they're kind of like, you giggle about them, but they are legitimate questions
Oh
that
yeah.
people are looking for insight for, because that education is, kind of just starting out in this industry, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
we
we
always
always say
kind of
the
say,
education is up
yeah.
here and product development is down here.
No,
There's this
opposite.
Yeah.
huge gap.
Opposite,
Or no,
Yeah.
other
opposite.
way.
Yeah, yeah,
Other
yeah.
way.
Product.
I got
Education's
you. I
We're
down.
up
got
here.
you.
Yeah,
We're
and
up here
product
with
ed
light
and
curing and bonders, and then there's people down here that's like, we don't need to use
still trying to
bonders.
figure
Light
out,
curing is
you
stupid.
know, well, and even with saline, like we tell people like to rinse with saline during their lash appointments, not at home, but just during the lash appointments, right? Because saline's pH balance, it's isotonic, like the whole thing, right? And people say, "Well, it's salt water." I'm like, "Well, it's not salt water."
It's
So
not leaving
hoping you're
like
going to say
ocean
that.
crunch on your
Yeah,
lashes.
Every
yeah, I'm like, "It's not
Tell
salt
them
water."
it has the same osmotic pressure as your ocular surface, so
Yeah.
it is not pulling salt and it is not putting any salt in. Nothing is leaving. It is
Thank
staying in
you.
suspension.
Yes. And,
Yeah.
and then of course it's consistent, and obviously it's not sterile once you open the bottle, but it was sterile when it went in there, and so
Yeah,
that's better than out of your nasty water
Tap
thing or
water
whatever.
where there was a boil water notice last week. You don't know
Yeah,
what the
there's all
pipes
those
are
yeah.
looking
amoebas that
like.
you could like, no, it's a whole thing. And then um and then some water has chlorine in it, right?
Yeah.
Some
Mhm.
tap water
Oh,
has
yeah.
chlorine in it. So then how would that chlorine affect your retention and your bond? I mean, you've got all those minerals and whatnot, Saline can effectively rinse those things away, whereas water cannot. Not only is it not rinsing things away, but it's leaving mineral deposits behind as well. It's
Yeah,
it's a whole it's
absolutely.
a whole thing, but, and people, they argue with us all the time about saline.
It's it's easier it's easier to trick someone than to convince them they were wrong. It's an old saying, but it's so true.
That is
It's
true.
stinky, but it is easier to trick someone than convince them they were wrong.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Cause yeah, and people will say, "Well, I've been doing lashes for 15 years and I've never used saline." I'm like, "Well,
Times are
And
changing. The industry's
yeah,
developing. We're learning
it's
things.
okay to
So you
change."
just got to
I
grow
used
as
to
a
use
lash
yeah.
water
artist.
too.
And
Yeah.
if you don't want to grow and you don't want to do that,
That's fine.
that's fine. Maybe you're in an area with great tap water, new
Yeah.
building, new plumbing. Maybe that's the case, and that's a-okay. But it's just more so saying like, hey, here's an option to innovate and kind of raise the standard a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It's not a "you're doing this wrong and we're doing it right" thing. It's this is why we choose this, and this is
How
why
it
we
benefits
don't
your
like to do
clients.
this. This is how
Yeah.
it benefits, and
yeah,
just same with light curing. It's like if you don't want to, that's fine. It's okay. You don't have to.
yeah,
But on a chemical
absolutely.
level, there is benefits to
There's
it. We're not
science
just doing
behind
it
it.
for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I always tell people that's like, I'm sure everybody's familiar with alcohol to some degree, right? It's your
Mhm.
difference between your half gallon on the bottom shelf for $20 of Ron Rico or whatever weird white rum it is, versus your top shelf bottle of Patron, right? the
Right.
refining process, the way it's been distilled, the raw materials starting out used to make it, it's a higher quality process.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
just
it gets
like
a higher quality price,
That's just
you
Yeah.
like
know?
Yeah.
alcohol in lash primers is a different kind of alcohol than isopropyl alcohol that you like sterilize
Yeah,
wounds
it's like
with.
denatured as
Yeah.
We
opposed to
actually
yeah,
came across someone who was priming with isopropyl alcohol. And
91% isopropyl.
Woo! Wow, was that person's eyes on fire?
they were coming to us because the client had a reaction, and we were like, I wonder
And I was like, "I bet
why.
they have no natural tear film left, none. It's gone.
Oh,
It's
and their
gone."
follicles are probably real dried. I will say, like, isopropyl, because of the molecular structure, that ISO unit, it's one hell of a primer. It'll
Oh,
work
yeah. Oh,
real
it'll
good,
work.
but I don't think you want it to work that effectively. I'm surprised they didn't
No.
get any blooming involved with that, to be honest, just
Yeah,
because.
I know. Yeah, it was I was like, "Hold on." I'm like, "Do you rinse that off?" You know?
I mean, but it's a great example as to like
But
why
it's
we need
because
to
people
get
think
education from people with like chemists, because I
yes,
understand how
because
she
people
got
think
there. She's
alcohol
like,
is alcohol. I
yeah, like
I
Yeah,
alcohol
get
and
but
where
there's
she
primer.
got
So why don't I just
yeah.
buy alcohol from the store? It's cheaper and I can buy it in bulk. But like, it's
Yeah,
not the
and I
same.
get where these people get to their end point, just like with, "Oh, well, if oil is supposed to break down my lash adhesive, then I can just have my client use that as a remover." I get where they
Yeah,
get to the end point, but they're missing the middle, right? So
yeah, they're
I'm
missing the meat
sure
and potatoes.
yes, yeah, so I'm sure this girl was like, "Well, I mean, there's alcohol in primer," which there is, but not that kind of alcohol.
different.
It's
Thankfully, they
different.
didn't buy any worse denatured alcohol because like in manufacturing, as we all know, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol, you got to pay a liquor tax. Our liquor tax is insane. So, like a 50-gallon drum of 200 proof ethanol in PA
Mhm.
is like $750 from VWR. The liquor excise tax is $890. It costs more than the actual liquor itself. So, a lot of people will get denatured and typically denature it with a heavier alcohol like heptane or others. So like
Mhm.
it's good she didn't just order denatured alcohol, right? You want to denatured just means it's been adulterated or watered down with a substance so you can't drink it and consume it easily
Right.
or
Right.
use it for other purposes.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So it yeah, but I get where people come from because
Get
it's like
there. Yeah.
yeah, I get where she got to her end point where she was like, "Well, why don't I just buy this cheap bottle of"
$3 alcohol from
99-cent
one.
bottle a night.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, of
instead of
ISO.
buying a $20 15 ml primer from so and so. Like I
Yeah.
get it, but it's like if you don't understand how chemically that's going to affect not only your lash adhesive, um, but the eye itself
The
too, like the
natural
ocular
hair, the
surface and the
eye.
natural hair
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I
yeah.
can definitely say from the past year, I'd say even like 2.5 years now, honestly, about halfway through my tenure, I've like kind of shifted my focus because like we know how effective and oil resistant and water resistant adhesives and CAs are. We know that, 9 times out of 10, they're typically not the culprit. It's usually an application issue or aftercare issue that arises, or just, personal health could always be the factor.
Mhm.
Um, but I do like that the industry is heading in this direction where now we're really starting to kind of see more people ask the right types of questions and understanding of like, well, hey, I've been doing this because I was told this. Like, is that
Yeah.
true? There's a
Yeah.
lot more willingness to come
We're
forward. There's still a
questioning
lot of
things.
telephone. Yeah, but people are starting to ask some of those right questions,
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
I'm
Yeah.
loving it.
Well, and not to toot our own horns or anything, but I actually think that was us.
Oh, good.
I do. I think that we really did like start this
Spark
whole like asking more
Start the
questions
trend
because
of doing lash science, if you will. Because I mean, now I even
yeah.
see other brands like talk about like, oh, here's the science behind how this is manufactured or
Yes,
why
and I'm
this
like,
works for
"Yes,
you and da 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 da. And
finally people are
I'm loving
giving
it.
the why instead of like oil
You'll get better
resistant,
retention.
dust retention and just leaving it
Yeah.
at that." And it's like, "Okay, but why though?" you
Yeah,
know?
because I think, for those of us who've been in this industry long enough, like you've really picked up on the buzzwords by now. And like when you hear retention, you're like, bzzz, like instantly, like, what are you trying to explain? What are you marketing? How are you marketing this?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it
What are you
really
trying to
has
sell?
changed. And yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I think the other half too that I'd like that I've seen in my about like halfway through coming through is a lot of the focus is still on products, but there's a lot more focus on, well, what about my health? How's this affecting my eyes? How do I know my tears are okay? Is this going to be safe for me over the, X amount of time? Can I do this chronically the rest of my life with minimal to no side effects if I do
Yeah.
things right?
Yeah.
So I like that there's a big health shift focus going on right
Me
now too, and
too.
I even find myself looking into that a lot more than like the product side of things lately, because
Yeah.
it is cool. And like for me, having the opportunity to like talk to Dr. Janice, Sam, like so many other wonderful individuals in like the ophthalmologic and optometry space has been like such a
Yes.
blessing, because as a chemist, right, Carly, more health sciences, right? So that's a little bit more up your alley. Me, I'm just kind
Yeah,
of
I'm
like the
like,
guy who
woo!
understands like how chemicals behave, right? I'm not
Yeah.
a biochemist in that biology. Chemists, we have a good understanding of it. Take a
But
lot of
that's not your
biology and
focus.
biochemistry.
Right.
Exactly. It's not my discipline. So it is great to have the opportunity and have other experts like that, as one professional to another, to kind of meet with them and collab and kind of get a better understanding of like, all right, well, here's my chemical piece of the pie. What's your health piece of the pie now? What's your lash artist
Yes.
piece of the pie? What are you guys seeing in the
Yeah.
real world? And kind of seeing that true collaboration take place. I can't even like count on my hands and toes how many medical professionals I've seen sort of like, I don't want to use the word infiltrate, but like make their way and find their way to this industry over the past year and
Yes.
a half. Like there's been an
Yeah.
explosion.
And I'm
Yeah.
here
Well,
for
and
it.
when we interviewed a couple of optometrists recently, and they asked us what we learned about the eyes in school, and we said nothing.
Nothing.
Literally nothing. Everything that we know about the eyes now, we taught ourselves,
Yeah.
which is insane. And then we asked
It's a
them, "Well, what
scary
did you
thing.
learn about makeup, eyelash extensions, things like that?" Nothing.
They were
So
their
Yeah.
there's
their
a
So
all of their superiors
disconnect.
said, "Don't do it. Don't wear it."
Yeah, they
And they
said,
were
"Just
like,
don't do it.
"Hello,
Tell your
you
patients
can't get the
no."
you can't get the general population to just stop wearing makeup or get lashes.
yeah, no,
How
that
do we make this possible
Abstinence is
so
not
that way
the
their
answer, it's just
ocular health
not.
is okay, but they can still get lashes?"
Yeah.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's the
So
teaming up of, chemists like you and optometrists, other health professionals, and kind of bridging that gap because, for
yes.
us lash artists, we're just like, "Nope, just no
We
oils,
were
no
taught
oils,
how
no
to do it, but
oils."
we weren't taught why or product
Why or what to
ingredients or eye
avoid
health.
or nothing.
It's just
Nothing.
like dip the glue, stick the lash.
That's
The
it.
end.
That's all we were
Yeah.
taught. Yeah.
Hold, release.
Exactly,
Yeah, no, I
exactly.
know, I know. It
Yeah,
is very
so
it's like come a long, long way, and it is really great to see that so many people are starting to finally make their way in, and I think that is going to be a huge success for the industry as a whole, and kind of maintaining like the pace that we're on now, right? And keep pushing forward into 26, into 2030, and so on and so
mhm.
forth.
Woot woot.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay,
think I think we're gonna see some good changes.
I'm excited.
Yes.
I keep telling Liv, I'm like, I can't imagine what the lash industry is going to look like in 5 years. I'm so
It's
curious.
gonna
I
be
wish I could
totally
peek into
different,
the
I think.
future.
If you were curious, just every time you go to Walmart or GNC or any, or not GNC, CVS or any of those places, just go look at the lash cosmetic space. Like that little section has grown from above the press on nails in Walmart to like a 2x2 to it has its own
Whole
row now.
section,
Like
yeah.
there's duo adhesives, there's magnetic lashes now that I've seen, which I haven't
Yeah.
even looked into those yet. That's the next
That
thing.
just
I'm like,
doesn't
what?
seem like a good idea, but I don't know because I have lash extensions, so I don't care about those.
Yeah, yeah, exactly,
But
exactly.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's gonna be totally different. I do.
Yeah, I
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think you're right.
Yeah.
Let's circle back to oils and wrap this up. So, I'm going to combine my last two questions for you that kind of bring the episode to a close.
Yeah.
So, do you think the oil-free trend in the lash industry is justified or outdated? And if you were a lash artist and you had to give your clients an aftercare routine pertaining to oils, what should our lash artists tell their clients to avoid or not worry about anything? What's the scoop?
Yeah. Okay. So I'd say the complete oil free makeup skincare routine, I think that is outdated. I think it needs adjusted. We need to be mindful of the types of oils we're using, how much of it is even in the product we're using. Cause sometimes even oil based, right? It could still just be like 40% based in oil and then a
Yeah.
mix of water and other things, right? So it really depends on the composition of that product that you're using. I think certain oils, as I mentioned, like lighter oils, like your sweet almond and your argan, are more safe and less aggressive towards the adhesive and its integrity in comparison to some of your heavy oils, like your mineral oils or your coconut oils. But that being said, too, that doesn't mean you have to, remove all these products or avoid everything out of your skincare routine. Be mindful of what types of products you use along your lash line and what they contain, and then know which ones to avoid, right? Like, I wouldn't go putting Vaseline directly on my eyes after getting a lash set. That wouldn't be my protocol. I would say to avoid that. But, you know, it's not going to instantly pop your lashes off
Yeah,
like we
they're not going to
discussed. So
come in
there's
for their
still no
fill and have
fear.
no
Oh.
lashes.
Yeah, might be a little weighed down, might be a little weird, little greasy,
Yeah.
little residue, but they're not just gonna pop off. So I
Nothing that a
really do
lash
believe
bath can't fix. So
Right.
technically, even if they're doing
exactly.
those things and they're washing their lashes, as recommended, they should be fine.
Yes, exactly. And so for my aftercare routine, I'd say, for the first 24 to 48 hours, if you do have like a heavy moisturizing eye cream that you use along your lash line for, crow's feet, bags under your eyes, anything, maybe avoid just using those for the first 24 to 48 hours to play it safe. If you're ultra paranoid and you want these to physically long or last as long as possible, right? So
Gotcha.
kind of avoid those heavy moisturizers first 24 to 48 hours. Most importantly, use lash safe products, right? Don't use your baby shampoos. Don't sit there and scrub and think you have to debride your lashes like every time you cleanse them intensely. Just a good, clean, like gentle, light scrub in a circular motion with your lashes using a lash shampoo or lash safe cleanser is fantastic. Really sticking to your lash safe products. I would say, if you're looking for like a primer or a sealant, those are the ones you're going to want to look for. Make sure they're lash safe. And then, as I mentioned, just kind of avoid some of those heavy oils, right? Avoid the coconut oil along it, avoid your mineral oil along your lash line. Other than that, though, ingredients or products containing those ingredients just depends on the concentration and how frequently used. Overall, oils will not dissolve your adhesives and they're not just going to pop your lashes off.
Got it.
That's
So
good to
it's
know.
almost like, yeah, I feel like for the most part, it's not anything that clients need to worry about. Like, I feel like even your eye creams and stuff like that, I feel like you should be careful not to get it on the lash extensions or moisturizer. You should be going around the extensions. And
Yes.
same with like conditioners and shampoos in the shower. Like when we were talking about tea tree oil, obviously don't let conditioner and shampoo run into your lashes and then leave it there, like rinse it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I stand backwards
Oh,
and go
yeah.
like head back
I
in
do
showers. So
too.
like we're good, nothing's
Yeah.
running down.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's sweet. This episode was super helpful because I feel
Yeah.
like the average person, I mean, isn't taking olive oil and coconut oil 100%.
Dousing.
It's just, let me moisturize my lash line, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Or castor oil because castor
Yeah.
oil will make your eyes grow like crazy.
Yeah.
But it does, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? Not as
Yeah.
dramatically as they are marketed. It's not a prostaglandin and doesn't have that type of
I
effect.
was gonna say I have a
Right.
lot of clients who get their brows laminated, so they'll get castor oil to like nourish their brow hairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I've never had any issues with them like oh my gosh, all their lash extensions popped off because they're putting
Yeah.
castor oil on their face every night. Like,
Yeah, no, you'll be good.
sweet. Livy, do you have any questions?
No, I think we're good.
Michael, do you have anything else you want to talk to about oils? Anything that we missed? Anything you want anyone to know? I feel like we
No, I
covered.
just want to
Oh,
thank you
oh.
guys for having me as always. No, go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
I don't feel like we talked about this real quick. So I want to talk quickly about oil and waterproof lash adhesives because I think from my knowledge, it's because they're using ethyl 2 cyanoacrylate. And so does that ethyl 2 just the molecules grip onto each other better, making them more resistant to oil and water? Like,
So you're gonna think this is like kind of crazy because like CAs cure via moisture, right? But it's actually the hydroxyl group of the H2O, the OH part, it initiates the cure. Um, CAs are extremely hydrophobic. They hate water. They repel water naturally because of their molecular composition and behaviors. They are also scared of oil. They're pretty much lipophobic. Sorry, I'm trying to
Uh-huh.
remember my terminology here. So they are fat fearing naturally. So they are naturally oil resistant. Now, some people may puffin or rubberize them using siloxanes, silicones, or other type of vulcanizing agents, right? Or copolymers to kind of just improve that. Like PMMA improves oil resistance in CAs, but we know even CAs without PMMA, they're really oil resistant. So like
so almost
when
the
I think
oil proof, waterproof kind of
Is a
slogan
gimmick.
for, yeah.
yeah, it's a buzzword. So like they're naturally
Not a
that way.
gimmick,
So like
but it's
Yeah.
supposed to just grab your attention and be like, "Oh, I better buy that one because it's oil
it's
Because
resistant,
oil
water
oils
free.
break down
resistant."
lash adhesives, so that one's oil free. I better buy that one. Or oil proof or whatever.
Yeah. So funny story about that. You know how I mentioned that CAs were used in aeronautics before? I actually talking to Tuss last year at LashCon, we were like talking about all the uses. She goes, there was a company years and years ago that marketed that their stuff was like NASA approved because it was space glue. Yeah, that was NASA approved. I was like, what?
Okay,
I feel like we
NASA,
should start
approving
doing
lash
that.
glues.
I'm just kidding.
Good grief.
That's interesting. Yeah, people come up
Yeah.
with
So
some
like
weird
That's
things
almost like
because
because cyanoacrylate started like building weapons in World War One. So you could almost be like, oh well, this is like,
army approved.
yeah,
yeah, army
yeah.
approved.
Like that's what at this point you could like I'm honestly surprised people haven't done it, but like start how there's like the vegan cruelty free bunny, right? Like I'm surprised there's not like a mother's approved for like children's skincare products, to be honest, of like, hey,
True.
we're moms, we started this
Hey, you
coalition,
better
these products
trademark
have
that.
to meet these standards.
Yeah, yeah.
But like
Oh,
there really is, you see it optometrist approved, chemist approved. I've had people be like, "Can you write chemist approved for this?" I'm like, "You could say you had a chemist review it. I don't like that because
yeah.
you give someone the green light to do that and then all of a sudden years later they change their product and you're like, "Whoa, whoa,
You're like,
that's not what
hold
I put my
on.
name behind."
Yeah.
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 So it is there's definitely some marketing, but it's not like there's not truth in it, right? Like it is naturally oil resistant and naturally water resistant. That's why they're used for so many different applications and so diverse in their application profile.
Well, it
Yeah.
makes sense because I mean, like you see, like they'll dump like oil on their skin and then
Dude.
stick lash extensions, and then the lashes don't move, and
And I
that's
just am
because
like,
oil
well,
doesn't
no
break down
shit.
lash adhesive.
I'm like, of course it's
Yeah.
sticking.
Yes, I know.
What
I
do you
know.
know?
And people don't realize too like how much the porosity like affects that too and everything. We
Yeah.
had a closet I was putting up a closet together, like a new bar to hang my clothes on, and it was like just too long. Like so I had to put it in the other bar, but then every time I went to pick it up, it would slide off. So
Oh
I got
no.
me some 500 grit sandpaper, roughing that boy up, and
Yep.
super glued them together, and them
Yep.
bars don't move now.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can really use it for like everything,
Oh,
from
yeah.
metals to plastics to adhesives to lash extensions.
Yeah.
She is that girl.
She
Cyanoacrylate.
is. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Very versatile.
Yes.
Okay,
Very.
sweet. That was my last question because I was like, we didn't talk about like the oil proof advertisements
Oh, wait,
sending.
I have a question.
Go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Somebody sent me a post and it said, "Stay out of the sun." No. "Stay out of the heat for the first 24 to 48 hours after your
Yeah.
lash appointment because the heat will break down your lash
It'll melt
adhesive.
the bond. If it's
It'll
strong enough
melt the
to melt
bond."
ice cream, it'll melt your lash extensions.
And
If
I'm
it's
like,
over 120 or
"That's
132 degrees Fahrenheit, and if it's that hot outside, we're in trouble.
I
that's
was
what
gonna
I
say,
thought
are
because
you
I
in
was
an oven?
like, yeah, I was like, I
Yeah,
mean, after it's cured, I feel like it would have to be pretty freaking hot."
yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
what
And
I
like,
thought. Okay.
the only time you run into that is like fresh set of lashes. You go to bend in the oven, it's 400, and you don't wait a second to open it. You get hit with the heat wave. You feel them curl. Like,
Right,
yes,
but
you could
that's
see
the
that, but
PDT, but not the bond though. Like,
yeah, exactly. So no, the
crazy.
bond it would have to be in continuous heat over time. Yes,
I'm like,
heat does degrade CAs,
right.
but
Oh, like
high
it has to be pretty
temperatures for an
hot.
extended period of time. Yeah,
And like
exactly.
If you
you
accidentally
will be
got trapped in a
cooked.
walk-in
Like,
oven.
yeah, like you would be
Yeah.
cooked.
And if that's
And
the
we've
case,
got
Yes.
I don't
bigger
know if you should be
problems.
worried about your lashes. That's not.
No, yeah. You should be looking for an exit.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody sent that to me and they're like, "Is there any truth to this?" And I was like, "Honestly, I feel like no, because I'm pretty sure it would have to be like extreme
Yeah.
temperatures."
Like
Yeah,
borderline,
and that's
you're
Okay.
more
cooking.
like that's like almost more like storage conditions, right? Like don't store it in a hot warehouse in
Yes.
Arizona in the middle of
Ex
summer during the warm
exactly.
months.
Exactly. Because like, in the summer, we don't ship on Fridays because we don't want it to go sit on a hot truck or in a hot warehouse over the weekend, so we just don't do it on Fridays because
Yeah,
then, we don't want it to compromise the integrity of the liquids. Okay.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Because those warehouses, like most people don't. They have sections that'll be temp controlled, but like sometimes you got to pay an arm and a leg for that too. On top of
Yeah,
that, so it's not cheap. Most people's stuff is stored whatever temperature it is outside is what it is inside in that warehouse.
Yep.
exactly. Yep. So,
Most
okay,
definitely.
well, I just thought of that because I was like, I
No, it was a
didn't
good
think that
question.
was true, but I was like, maybe we should ask Michael.
Very, very
No, no,
relevant to
you're good.
summer, I will say.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, it's been a scorcher.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, I mean, I don't have anything else. Livy, you don't have anything else.
Mm-mm. No, this was
Michael?
good.
Yeah, I'm
No,
excited. This is a
I'm
great
solid.
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Woo!
thank you guys again too. Any other episodes, please don't
Oh,
hesitate to
yeah.
reach
Yes,
out. I'm
this
always
definitely
always
will
down
have
to
to bring
pop
you
on.
back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
The
been nice.
girls,
This is
they
the
the girls, they want Michael Becker episodes. So,
good, good.
yeah.
This is like the first thing I have recorded since being a dad for the most part. Like I've really taken like a
Really?
hiatus since little Lenny was born in December for the most part. So like
I
it was
forgot
really
about
good when you guys
that.
yeah, so you guys asked and I was like, "Ah, this would be great. I'm like looking to get back into the swing of things anyways, and this will be a
Yeah.
good like foothold. So
Oh,
my
Yes.
good.
account will come back alive here soon. I've been kind of just off grid dadding it, and then
I'm
I
so
hurt my back
happy.
back in February,
Oh,
so I'm getting
good.
an MRI tomorrow. Actually,
Oh, no,
uh,
hopefully you don't have to get
my
surgery.
fingers crossed. I don't know. They think I
Yeah.
have a slipped or bulging disc in my lower back, so
My sister had
fingers
that.
crossed.
Ouch.
Yeah, it is. It has
They
been
had
a
to put
whirlwind.
a they had to put a cage around um, her disc.
Her, yeah,
She has a
exactly.
a silicone disc now and then a
See,
cage
this is
around
why
it.
I got out of health science because I have such a weak stomach, and I'm like, that sounds like the end of the world to me. I can't even
Yeah.
imagine.
Oh, it was terrible when I first started. It's gotten a
Yeah.
lot better, but it's just still at that like weird point. So,
Oh,
but I will definitely be, present on social media here more upcoming through these next few months. Just, trying to give you guys a little insight as to where I've
yeah.
been if you've been wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
was
definitely
actually
know an
wondering why we
episode.
weren't seeing anything. Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yes.
definitely an episode we can record before LashCon is You know about it. I can't say too much, but I think that would be great to have you on that episode
I think so
about that
too.
special something that we're cooking up and hoping to launch
Yes.
at LashCon. We want to record a podcast that'll drop while we're at LashCon, whenever
Oh
that
my gosh,
product's
yes.
released. So that would be awesome to have a chemist
Yeah.
also come in and like verify the formula, because you're all looped in on everything. And yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that'll be
Yeah.
our next episode for sure, because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
definitely coming up.
Absolutely. Count me in for sure.
Yeah. We'll have to
Yay!
give you, when we stop recording, I'll give you a little update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you again, Michael, for coming. Everyone, if you have any questions for Michael or any future things you want to hear us pick his brain about or talk about, any other lash myths, product myths, definitely comment them down below. You can send any of us a DM. Where can the people find you? Say that again.
You can find me on Instagram, Michael B. Chemist. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. I'm also there, Michael Becker.
Oh,
Shoot me a
I'll link
DM,
with you. I
text.
have no LinkedIn friends
Yeah.
because no one on
Yeah,
Lash
oh,
I
yeah,
has
don't
one.
either.
absolutely. Let's connect.
I love that. So definitely shoot Michael a follow. I will comment. I'll put all his stuff in the description below too. That way everyone can have some easy access to it. But
Yeah.
like and subscribe. And I hope this episode was super helpful for everyone, because it was I learned something, so I know everyone
Me
else learned
too.
something.
So, yeah.
Yay! Thank you again.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
toodles.